There are valleys in America that don't exist on maps anymore. Roads that lead nowhere, where the trees lean too close and the wind carries something older than words. If you drive far enough through the back roads of Southern Virginia, you'll reach one of those places. Locals call it the Sink. It's not a town, not anymore. It's a forgotten dip in the earth, where the mist never clears and even phone signals die. And somewhere inside that hollow lies a farmhouse that was supposed to have been abandoned over a century ago. Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. The farmhouse belonged to the Bellerose family, a name you won't find in most history books. The last time it appeared in any official record was in 1910 on a single census form. 7 people listed under one roof. After that, the name vanished. No birth records, no deaths, no marriages, just silence. For decades, people assumed it was another case of Appalachian isolation, a family swallowed by poverty and distance. But when a demolition crew stumbled upon that same property in 2004, they found something buried in the crawl space, a sealed box. Inside it, a collection of photographs, letters, and film reels. And what those reels showed was unnatural. Faces that didn't age between decades. The same people, same expressions, same eyes, but taken years apart, like time forgot them, or refused to move forward. Historians would later trace the Bellerose name back to 1854, a man named Nathaniel Bellerose, who settled deep in the Virginia woods with his young wife. No record of where they came from. Some said they were fleeing war, others whispered they were fleeing something else. Their property sat on a patch of land the locals called Devil's Hand because of the shape of the hills, 5 crooked ridges pointing skyward like grasping fingers. No one wanted to live there. The soil was too red, the air too heavy, the animals too quiet. For decades, the family lived in complete isolation. Their children rarely went to town. When they did, they didn't speak. And when they were spoken to, they smiled, slow and strange, like they were listening to something else. One schoolteacher wrote in her diary in 1896, "Their voices sound wrong, like the echo comes before the word." That diary was later found buried in the walls of the old Eastford church, the same church where the Belleroses were once said to pray alone long after the congregation stopped coming. By the early 1900s, locals stopped going near the valley altogether. The forest around the Bellerose property grew denser, the birds disappeared, and at night travellers claimed they saw lights moving through the trees, not lanterns, something blue. When the reels found in 2004 were finally developed, experts confirmed they dated between 1909 and 1951. Yet the faces on them never changed. 7 people, always the same. Same crooked smiles, same white eyes staring directly into the camera. One reel in particular made the archivist quit his job. It showed a young girl sitting on a porch, whispering into a jar. The film goes silent for a moment, then the lid twists itself shut from the inside. Each film was labelled with the same phrase, written in a shaking hand, "We still remember." There was no sign of the filmmaker, no notes, no negatives. Just the films, buried in a house that was never supposed to be rediscovered. But the strangest part came next. A photograph from 1937 showing the Bellerose family standing in front of their home. Behind them, etched into the wooden door, was a symbol, 5 circles intertwined like a chain, and beneath it, B12. That symbol would later appear in a 1952 US Public Health Service document, referring to a familial containment study involving non-verbal rural subjects, the code name Project B12. When the file surfaced decades later under the Freedom of Information Act, most of it was redacted, but one paragraph remained intact. Subjects demonstrate unusual longevity and resistance to aging. Generational communication suggests memory retention beyond cognitive norms. Recommendation: indefinite isolation. In other words, They weren't studying illness. They were studying something else. The Bellerose family wasn't forgotten. They were kept. Researchers noted that the family spoke in sounds that weren't language, rhythmic humming, almost melodic, repeated across generations. It wasn't random. The patterns were identical, as if the family was reciting something ancient, something passed down not through words, but through sound itself. After 1953, all mention of Project B12 vanished from public record. The farmhouse was erased from county maps, and anyone who tried to visit the site was turned away by private land signs that no one could trace back to an owner. In 1998, a woman named Rebecca Crane, a historian from Roanoke, began researching lost Appalachian bloodlines. She became obsessed with the Bellerose name. After 2 years of research, she posted her findings online, including the exact coordinates of the property. The next morning, her website was gone. Friends say she changed after that, stopped teaching, stopped answering calls. In her final recorded voicemail, she said, "They weren't trapped there. They stayed to keep something else in." Weeks later, she vanished while driving toward the valley. Her car was found abandoned by the roadside, keys still in the ignition, headlights still on. All that remained inside was a small notebook with one line written over and over. "We were told to remember, so the others forget. If you're still watching, you're already braver than most. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done if this was your bloodline?" In 2023, urban explorers broke into the valley and recorded what they found. The farmhouse was still standing, untouched by time. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings, circles, chains, and names repeating endlessly. But what terrified them most wasn't what they saw. It was what they heard. From the basement came a low humming, a pattern, a melody that seemed to pull the air itself. When they uploaded the footage online, the audio distorted the platform's algorithm, random playback errors, corrupted frames, channels freezing midstream. Within hours, the video was removed. But one screenshot remained. It showed a man, pale, bald, standing in the doorway, wearing clothes that matched those in the 1937 photograph. His eyes were open, his mouth wasn't, and his shadow stretched across the floor, pointing straight at the camera. Today, the area where the Bellerose farmhouse once stood is sealed off under environmental protection orders. No one lives there, no one is supposed to, but according to satellite data, there's movement, light, heat signatures. Someone, or something, still walks those woods. Genetic studies show fragments of the Bellerose bloodline scattered across modern Appalachia, diluted but alive. And among them, reports persist of people who dream in humming tones, who can't stand silence, who claim they sometimes hear whispers when they're alone. The official story says the Bellerose family vanished. But maybe they didn't. Maybe the reason their faces never aged, the reason their words became sound, is because they found a way to stay here, to echo through generations. And maybe when we uncover these stories, when we watch, listen, and remember, we become part of them. Because some histories aren't meant to be told. They're meant to be continued. And when the blood remembers, so does the land.